New York City is not only home to some of the greatest comedians on earth, but it's where many of them were born as well. The Big Apple has set the tone in the comedy world for a long time now, producing dozens of the most impressive and impactful comedians and clubs of all time.
Louis C.K.
Chris Rock.
David Tell.
Near the top of that list sits one of the most famous comedy clubs to ever exist, the Comedy Cellar. Founded in 1981, there's a good chance that every comedian you've ever heard of has stopped by the Comedy Cellar at least once in their career. And 42 years later, the Comedy Cellar is still thriving as one of the hottest clubs in the world. And with so much recent hype around the comedy mothership, it can be easy for comedy fans to forget just how popular this New York staple really is, selling out over 80 shows every single week. With this type of demand, it can be difficult for comedy fans to ever get a chance to attend a show at the Cellar. But lucky for us, one comedian was able to capture the experience of going to a Comedy Cellar show.
And then you, sir? Pharmacy business. Pharmacy business. Okay, sounds like drug dealing.
Mike Feeney just released a 20-minute stand-up special where he not only performed in each of the Cellar's 4 rooms, but also captured some rare behind-the-scenes footage from the shows as well. We recently got the chance to sit down with Mike and ask him a few questions about the Comedy Cellar, New York City, and his unique special. Mike Feeney, thank you so much for joining the show today. In your special, we got to see you perform in all 4 rooms at the Comedy Cellar. Out of those 4 options on a normal night, do you have a favorite and least favorite room?
The most popular rooms are either the Village Underground or the original Comedy Cellar location. I still feel like the original Comedy Cellar is the best room because it feels like it has the laughter of 50 years inside the walls there. So it just feels so intimate. The ceiling's so low. It just, it's tiny. It feels like a place that people want to come hear secrets.
You said your goal was to capture what it's like to experience a normal night of comedy in New York City. And now that your project is complete, a lot of people have seen it at this point. Do you think that this special accomplished that goal?
I hope so, man. I mean, I think, so far the feedback's been great. I'm excited that, people enjoy it. I also just realized that because my headphones are green, I just don't have ears. It's very funny to just, I was like just noticing this. I was like, wait a minute, I don't have ears on this. That's hilarious. No, man. Yeah. I mean, I hope so. I think it's one of those things where like, as a lot of people want to come to the Comedy Cellar, again, it's the most famous club in the world. A lot of people can't get tickets. They sell out every single show they do. So I just thought it'd be a cool thing. Cause a lot of times people go, what's the difference between the rooms and stuff? I thought I'd just kind of showcase why each room looks that way. And also as a comedian, like kind of how it feels when you're just bouncing around. Like I didn't want to really make it like a documentary style thing. I just wanted to show as many jokes as possible in that and just show kind of like, oh, you run into some comics, and there's some other comics, but it's just all kind of in passing while we're going to work.
There was one room during the special where it started off what you'd probably call a bad crowd or kind of a rough crowd, but it turned around in the end. How much of a risk is it shooting a special in front of a random crowd instead of advertising it to your specific fans?
Buddy, it's one of the 1,100 occupational hazards that came with this project because, dude, again, and the problem with that you're talking about the Fat Black Bar, and the problem with that was that, again, I only had one take at it. So anytime anyone films a special, they almost always film two shows, so that way they have coverage. With this, I did 4 rooms, so I had to do double the coverage, but there was only one shot at the bar. And as I leave in the credits, you can see where Ian Finance is hosting.
They are dumb. Not all the shows are going to be great.
And, the first, 11 to 12 minutes of my set, I'm just taking grenades in the trenches, man. Just nothing is hitting. It's to the point where I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I mean, technically, I could just say I did all 3 rooms of the Comedy Cellar in one night, and no one's really going to know that. I could just cut this whole thing. I was literally, and then I got the light to like wrap up, and then I just happened to talk to the couple in the audience who ended up having a fascinating, unbelievable, insane, weird story. And then, I got to do the call back to the kids and got an applause break, which getting an applause break out of that crowd felt better than any other applause break I've ever gotten, because they were so seemingly anti-comedy, that the fact that I got them to that level. Like Ian was in the back being like, yeah, he was just like fist bumping because it was really a Hail Mary buzzer beater. It was a great walk-off home run. I mean, it was all of that with like literally the last 30 seconds. So that was awesome to do, and I am glad I pulled that out.
Yeah, and with one take too, that just makes the whole story even better.
Yeah, that was what made it scary, you know. But yeah.
It's a 20-minute special, which I heard you say the watch time from Netflix is the average viewership of a special is around that 20 minutes. I think it makes a lot of sense to shorten down a special. But how did you decide what portions of your hour to include in this versus what you're holding on to for the road?
Somebody actually made a great point in one of the comments of my specials where they said that it reminded them of like the Comedy Central Presents that they grew up watching, which were all, again, 22 minutes, 8 of commercials. Like, and that honestly is what I watched growing up, like getting into comedy. I watched more Comedy Central Presents than I did hours of comedy. Like, obviously I watched like, you know, Carlin and Seinfeld and Cosby and like, you know, like the bigger guys, I watched their hour, but so it was, I think it's a good length to just kind of, in terms of like what I chose, I decided to just shoot. I did, again, 7 sets. So, because I ran it all one night and then I ran it all a second night, but the second night we didn't have a spot at the Fat Black Pussycat Bar. So it was only one take in there. I wanted to try to go with something that had like a bit of a narrative. So I did slightly different sets in each of them. There were some jokes I overlapped twice. So I was kind of like, I just wanted to take basically whatever the strongest jokes, whatever the best reactions were, I was going to do that and hopefully, you know, fit the through line of the special.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, last question for you here, Mike. And you just mentioned it's the most famous club in the world. I think you said that at the beginning of the special as well. I don't think many people would argue that, but they would probably have the top 3 of the Comedy Cellar, the Comedy Store, and now the Mothership. Out of those 3 clubs, what makes the Comedy Cellar number 1 in your opinion?
So funny, man. I performed in all 3 clubs in the last week. So it's very funny to see the difference in them. Yeah. And they're truly, I mean, the Comedy Store is also one of my favorite clubs on earth. And it was my first time at the Mothership, which is truly an incredible experience. I think with the Cellar, it's just like, again, man, they got 4 rooms. They do 80 shows a week. When you sell out every single show a week, and it's just, and also like New York City comedy. I mean, there's so much competition. There's so many other options for comedy in that city that it really does feel like it's kind of like there's a reason that Chappelle and Rock and Ray Romano and all the, these famous comics are constantly going there. There's a bit of magic to that club.
Yeah, that's true. I guess, they have way more competition than for sure the Mothership and the Comedy Store as well. And they're still putting up, all those sold out numbers. That makes a lot of sense. Speaking of the Mothership, though, you were just on an episode of Kill Tony. The episode came out last week, and you witnessed a golden ticket winner right in front of your eyes. Kind of a wild moment. What was that like, seeing that unfold live when Heath walked out on stage?
I think I'm visibly seen asking like what the fuck is going on multiple times. When he came out, man, it was just like, what the hell? Well, Giannis said maybe the funniest thing that nobody heard, because he just said it. He didn't say it into the microphone. He just said it to me.
Before Mike finishes that story, we need to hear a quick word from the sponsor of today's video, Underdog Fantasy, the easiest and best way to play fantasy sports. With the NBA season ramping up, now is your time to get in on the action with Underdog Fantasy's Pick'em games. All you have to do is pick higher or lower on a player's stats, depending on how you think they're gonna do. And if you're correct, you could win up to 20 times your money in a single night, just by picking correctly on 2 to 5 players' stats. My picks for tonight's Celtics-Raptors game are lower on Scotty Barnes and Dennis Schroeder points and higher on Jason Tatum rebounds. If all 3 of those picks are right, I 6x my money. Underdog is available in 30 plus states and Canada, including California, Texas, and Florida. So make sure you sign up today with code JOKEWORLD, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. They're also giving JokeWorld subscribers a special offer available to new users only with promo code JokeWorld. Now back to the video.
Giannis said maybe the funniest thing that nobody heard, because he just said it. He didn't say it into the microphone. He just said it to me. He literally just looked at me and was like, what the hell is that thing? And it just was so goddamn funny, because people were so torn between like, is he lying about his age? what's this dude's story?
Yeah.
And then he was killing, obviously gets a standing ovation, kills. And then, like Tony said, it was like every question that you asked him made you think of 14 other questions you wanted to ask him. So, I have 1,000 more. The fact that he doesn't know the exact thing that's going on with him is, to me, I still haven't slept thinking about it. It would be my only mission in life. I'd be up on the internet 23 hours a day, and then the other hour would be jerking off or whatever. But it was a wild one. It was one of those moments where all of us sitting on it, like the second it was over, we all looked at each other being like, we just witnessed a legendary moment in this show's history.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for your time today. And everyone go check out the special. You can find it on your YouTube channel. Any other social medias or upcoming tour dates or anything?
I am Mike Feeney on all social media. I got a bunch of dates up at MikeFeeneyComedy.com. And then, you can watch the special, YouTube.com/Mike Feeney Comedy. I have my first special, Rage Against the Routine, up there. Just, you'll find me. Google me. I'm around,
Awesome. Thanks again, Mike.
At Joke World. That's it. At Joke World.
And the world is WRLD.
That's a great YouTube channel, Joke World. Check it out.